Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Oh, they're ready. Down to the field. Here's Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, I spoke to some Houston players before the game, and they said the thing that was emphasized this week is learn how to manage success. Arian Foster said the team is very relaxed, but at least one player did say that this is a playoff atmosphere, and we have to rise to the occasion. Back to you.
Well, the fans certainly have. They were lined up on the highway to get in here at 6:45 this morning. And here are our thoughts heading into this game for Houston. Best offense in the NFL, maybe. Another chance to solidify what they've done the first couple of weeks. Dallas can't beat themselves. Penalties, mistakes have killed them on offense. And there should be a lot through the air here today. The Cowboys won the toss. They'll have the first crack at it. Owusu Ansah is waiting for the kick. And from about the 7. The rookie crosses the 20, and that's it. He's wrestled forward to the 23 by Joel Dreesen. So now the offense. They've had no trouble putting up yards. They have had trouble scoring touchdowns. 790 yards through 2 weeks. But only 2 scores for this offense, and there's the line. Second week back now for Colombo and Kozar starting in front of Tony Romo. Marion Barber gets it and bounces it to the edge. Well pursued by Glover Quinn. 4-yard pickup. D'Amico Ryans was out there. And those two combined on the stop. Delayed handoff to Barber and right up the middle. Marion Barber to the 39-yard line, a gain of 12.
Well, they open the game up with 2 running plays. Chris Gronkowski, the fullback, he leads the way and does a good job on the lead block, opening up a nice hole for Marion Barber. You go back to that game last week, Joe, against the Bears. This is a lot like what it looked like in that game. Marion Barber getting 3 or 4 carries in that to start the game, started strong, and then after that the running game fizzled.
Play action. Martellus Bennett, the big tight end, hurdles a tackle and picks up 14. Went right over Eugene Wilson. He is starting the back end at the free safety position. We'll give you a look at the defense for the Texans. They have given up a ton of yards here the first 2 weeks, and the problem has been a very young secondary. And they start a rookie at right corner in Kareem Jackson. Back to the ground game. Penalty flag comes in, and that was blown dead before it started. A false start. That's been a problem the first 2+ games for Dallas.
Number 82, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
They came into this game, Joe, offensively as the most penalized team, actually tied with Oakland in that category. And here in recent years, anytime you're tied with Oakland in anything, it's not a good thing. But they have gotten drives going through the first 2 weeks of the season and have established some rhythm, only to have a penalty set them back, and then, like we're seeing here, facing 1st and 15.
Romo right over the middle to Witten. And Witten, who was guilty of the false start, picks up 8.
Well, you talked about this Houston defense and, you know, the success. that both Donovan McNabb and then Peyton Manning had in the first 2 games of the season. And I know as a defensive coach, you always want to make the opponent one-dimensional. Well, Frank Bush, the defensive coordinator for the Texans, has done that. And the only problem is that one dimension has been giving up over 400 yards a game.
Peyton Manning lit him up, then Donovan McNabb last week. Just get the play away and hand it to Barber, who cuts back, lowers his head, and takes it to the 39. A gain of 5 and a 3rd and short coming up. Bentley on the stop. And the two teams start to shove after the play. No flags are thrown. Well, that's the main question, though, Troy. I mean, if you're Dallas, and all you've said and all you've heard is establish the run. We're going to establish the run, which they've tried to do here early already. But you're going against a team that's given up over 400 yards passing in each of the first 2 games. How do you not come in trying to throw the ball?
Well, they're going to try to run this ball the way that they have on this series, but they're not going to bang their head against the wall. If it's not successful for them, I can assure you that they're going to get to throwing it real quickly. But right now, they're having some success on the ground.
Timeout taken by Dallas with the play clock winding down. 3rd down for the Cowboys when we come back.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
One of the toughest tickets in a long time here in the city of Houston. 2-0 Texans, 0-2 Cowboys. 3rd down and 2 for Dallas, opening possession. Hand off to Choice. Choice stumbles, slides forward, and they're going to mark him short of a 1st down. Lost his footing, and it's 4th down for Dallas. And they're going to go for it. It's interesting, you know, Choice lost his footing, went down on his own by the time he was touched. They marked him a yard short of the 1st down, and here's a 4th down for Dallas. They pitch it. Felix Jones has got a leap, and it depends on the spot. A little misdirection, and Felix Jones tried to get to the edge. It was well played out there, and it just depends on where the official put his foot down. Glover Quinn was out there to help.
Well, you saw Jason Witten in a great position there on Glover Quinn. Normally a tight end's going to win that battle, but Quinn does a great job of pushing Jason Witten right back into the ball carrier, Felix Jones. Initially, it looked like he was going to make that 1st down without any problem, but an excellent play there by the corner.
First down.
You go back and take a look at the block. Jason Witten is stringing it out. Glover Quinn recognizes that Felix Jones is going to try to go to the outside, and he pushes Witten right back into the ball carrier, and that's what made it a much closer conversion there than what it initially looked like it would be.
No team in the NFL has thrown the ball more the first 2 weeks than the Cowboys so far. 7 plays, they've run it 5 times. Play action, and Witten makes the catch. Tries to make a move and can't get around the rookie Kareem Jackson. A gain of 5. Let's go to Kurt for a game break.
Falcons and Saints, and of course Reggie Bush out with that broken leg. So Lance Moore, the new punt returner, not a bad substitute. He takes this one 72 yards. Gets stopped at the 6-yard line, but they eventually scored. Jeremy Shockey from 2 yards out, and the Saints lead the Falcons 7-0. Joe and Troy.
All right, Kurt. 2nd and 5 for Dallas. Marion Barber made something out of that play. was met in the backfield. No gain, but at least got back to the line of scrimmage. First guy was there was Antonio Smith, who went on to their injury report yesterday with an illness. He got into the backfield. Barber got around him.
Sometimes the best plays are just getting the ball back to the line of scrimmage, because initially Antonio Smith, who they really like here in Houston, was a good pickup a year ago, has done a nice job in run defense, primarily a guy who's able to put pressure on the quarterback, has helped complement the pass rushing abilities there of Mario Williams on the opposite side, but he was able to get penetration there on that last play on Barber.
It's 3rd down and 5. Penalty flag comes in. Pass is caught. Tackle is made short of first down yardage. That's Miles Austin. But there is a flag down. It's Gary Kubiak. In his 5th season as head coach of the Texans.
Illegal formation on the offense. Too many men in the backfield. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
So now it's 4th down again for Dallas. They have at this point, you'd have to put him in the category of an unreliable kicker. That's David Beeler, who's 2 for 4 in field goal tries, and he stands on the sideline. Be about a 47, 48-yard try, and instead, for the 2nd time on this drive, the Cowboys go for it on 4th down.
Unreliable kicker to go with an undisciplined offense.
Romo's in trouble. Throws incomplete, but a penalty flag comes in at the end. Thrown in the secondary. And if it's against the Texans, it'll be a 1st down for Dallas.
Pass interference, number 82, offense. That penalty's declined. 1st down, Houston.
Yeah, you see at the top of that route, Joe, where Jason Witten was in contact with Bernard Pollard.
They pass on the field goal try and can't convert on 4th and 2.
Today's game is sponsored by Budweiser. Grab some buds and be a part of the Budweiser National Happy Hour on September 29th.
The Dallas Cowboys went for it twice on 4th down during that first possession. You know, if you're going to pass on points on the road with a 47, 48-yard try by Beeler, indoors, elements not a factor, and go for it there, he shouldn't be on the team. They decided to go for it, don't make it, and now Houston starts with a completion to Jacoby Jones for 7.
Let's go back and take a look at this last play. Now, watch the sharp choice here. This was set up to be a screen pass, and that's why Jason Witten at the top, he was just blocking Bernard Pollard. The ball was never intended to be thrown to him, but they covered that awfully well, the Texans defense did, and then Romo's just trying to make a play. And that's why they called Witten there on that penalty.
Second pass, second completion, this time to Andre Johnson, good for 12.
Well, coming off a huge game last week against the Washington Redskins and the touchdown to send that game into overtime, and they get the ball to him right away here in this game. Outside leverage technique there by Terrence Newman at corner, and opens the door there for Andre Johnson to run the slant. Pretty easy pitch and catch.
If you haven't seen much of Andre Johnson, he is big, he's strong, he's fast, he's tough.
He's pretty good.
Led the league in receiving yardage the last 2 years. Delayed handoff, it's Arian Foster. Shoves a stiff arm into Terrence Newman and picks up 12.
See, they do a good job on DeMarcus Ware. They run right at him, and they're able to get Wade Smith, the left guard, pulling out in front of Arian Foster. And boy, I like this guy. He came on strong at the end of last season and had a heck of a day in week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts, going for over 200 yards rushing in that game. And he has given this team something that they didn't have last year in the running game.
back to him, and this time not much. This is the #1 offense in the NFL. They were 4th overall last season. Rushing offense, they're #1. That huge day by Foster, 231 yards in the opener against the Colts. They're the backs and receivers, and the offensive line is playing with Rashad Butler at left tackle, his first start in the NFL. Dwayne Brown was suspended during the week. 4-game suspension for violating the game's performance-enhancing drug policy. Butler will have his hands full with DeMarcus Ware. Here is a screen for Owen Daniels, brought down from behind, but a nice pickup on 2nd down of 7 yards. Game break. Here's Kurt.
Well, not a pretty start for Eli and the Giants against Tennessee. Marching down the field, Eli scrambles, but throws his 2nd pick of the game, this time in the end zone. He leads the league with 6 interceptions thrown, and Tennessee is on top 3-0. Joe, Troy, and Pam, all 6 of his picks off tip balls, by the way.
That's the first one that looked like he threw it left-handed, trying to make something happen, and the interception in the end zone. Now it's 3rd down and 3 for Houston. 4-man rush, and Schaub is brought down from behind, and it's DeMarcus Ware.
And we talked about Rashad Butler making the start there at left tackle, and he's facing one of the best pass rushers in football, DeMarcus Ware, but he does a good job. He's got good balance. He holds up well, and he's expecting the ball to be out by then. But the Cowboys playing zone, they're predominantly a man coverage team, and they were able to drop linebackers under the receivers where Schaub was wanting to go. That was more coverage sack than anything that Butler didn't do right.
And that's the 2nd of the year for DeMarcus Ware, and the loss of 10 knocks Houston out of field goal range. The punt by Turk. It looks pretty, but it bounces into the end zone. 42-yard punt, a net of just 22 yards. Field position, no score, first quarter.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by the new 2011 Lexus IS, wheeled precision. By Panasonic, see what amazing looks like on the Panasonic Viera Full HD 3D TV. And by Sprint, the Now Network.
Promising start to that drive by Houston. It stalled, basically was finished on the sack by DeMarcus Ware. So the Cowboys start at their 20. Felix Jones in a tailback. He gets it on a delay, and Felix Jones carries it for 7. Nading on the stop, and back to that sack by Ware.
Yeah, you can see Andre Johnson there on your right. He's going to run a slant route, and what's going to happen is Keith Brooking, the middle linebacker, he comes underneath that throw. That's where Schaub was wanting to go with the football, and he came off of it, and then DeMarcus Ware had gotten the pressure. You know, Dallas predominantly a man coverage team, a little more zone here in the early going.
2nd down and 3. Jones again, and this time he goes nowhere. Adibi in to make the play for Houston.
Yeah, this is kind of what happened last week against Chicago with Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs. They were able to shoot the gaps, and the linemen just were unable to come off of those linebackers. And you know, they're playing downhill, and Xavier Adibi, he was on the backside, and he's able to just knife his way right through that offensive line without any blocking and then make the play.
They've run it more than they've thrown it. It's 3rd and 3. Good pocket for Romo. The pass is caught by Bennett, and Martellus Bennett cannot get to the 1st down marker.
It looked like initially, Joe, when he caught it, had he have gone down there, he would have picked up the 1st down. They would have given him forward progress right there, and that was enough for the 1st down. But once he escapes that tackle and tries to break it, then he lost yardage, and he came up short.
And then he came up gimpy at the end of that. So it's 3 and out. Breyer angles it to his right. Jacoby Jones on the return. And a good play made downfield by Sam Hurd. 6 yards on the return. Texans have it. Second time. First quarter, no score. There's the start for Shaw, 3 for 3. Threw for a franchise record 497 yards last week against the Redskins on the road. The Texans' first overtime victory in franchise history. On first down, Shaw over the middle, incomplete. Owen Daniels, no penalty flag as Sensabaugh had the coverage. Showed you the offense, now the defense, the 3-4 of the Dallas Cowboys. A big problem for this Cowboys defense. They've limited yardage. They're quote unquote a top 10 defense, but they have no takeaways.
There's no big plays from this defense, and as a result, that really then hurts the offense, because the offense is constantly having to go 80, 85 yards to score touchdowns, and they're never getting a short field.
Handoff is to Foster running left, and there's not much out there. Sensabaugh up to make that play. A gain of just 3, 3rd and 7 coming up.
You know, and I think Houston is still really trying to figure out exactly what they have when it comes to the running game. I think if you looked at their numbers, you'd say, well, what do you mean? This is the team leading the National Football League in rushing after 2 weeks. But a big part of that is because they were so successful week 1 against Indianapolis. Last year, this team wasn't very good running the football, and it hurt them. And I don't think that when this season ends, they're going to be the best at doing that. But if they can be a top 15 running football team to go with what they have in the passing game, this offense is going to be one heck of an offensive unit.
Penalty flag on the play. The pass for Jacoby Jones. Good for a first down, but there are 2 separate flags on the field, as opposed to 2 combined flags, I guess. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it seems to be 2 fouls on the play.
And it's looking like it's going to be against Dallas. Both of those flags.
Both separate ones.
Offside, number 93 defense. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
So both officials on each end of the line threw the flag, and it's against Anthony Spencer.
Rashad Butler is doing a good job there on that backside against DeMarcus Ware, and then there's the route. Jacoby Jones, this is a guy who they feel has a lot of talent, just has to develop a little more consistency in his play.
Here's Foster, hits the hole hard, and Arian Foster picks up 10.5, and a first down for Houston.
Well, it's a good job by Chris Myers, the center, and this is what they like to do. You're going to see the center here, and he leads the way and does a good job, you know, in that zone blocking scheme. He gets the push there on Marcus Spears, and then he gets up to the linebacker level. And then with Arian Foster, I know in this zone scheme, what you want out of a running back is a one-cut guy who once he makes a decision, he gets heading in the hole north and south, and Arian Foster is outstanding at doing that.
Now it's Slayton, his first carry, and Slayton's bottled up in the backfield. We go to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
Buffalo and New England. Jerry Rice has more with 197. Joe, Troy, and Pam at 7-3. New England on top of the Bills.
All right, Kurt, thanks. Here a loss of 2 on that carry by Slayton, and Foster gets right back in there.
And Randy Moss is looking for a big payday. He's in his contract year this season.
Already had his little sit down with his head coach. And that's the end of the first quarter. No score here in Houston. The NFL on Fox will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Well, with all the talk about the mistakes on offense and Jason Garrett and all the problems that the Cowboys have had scoring when they've had the ball, you look at that stat, one of 2 teams without any takeaway so far. The defense has had a free pass, and there was a false start.
False start, number 73, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's Eric Winston, the starting right tackle. There are the first quarter stats. As you look at those, realize that there are 3 former teammates along the offensive line when they were at Miami that are now starting for the Houston Texans, with Winston at right tackle, Chris Myers at center, and now Rashad Butler, who so far so good out at left tackle for Houston. Now 2nd and 17, and they set up a screen for Foster, and that was well played by Scandrick. A loss of 2. Fox Saturday Baseball, Philly and Atlanta. 4 other games with playoff implications. That's this week, starting at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, right here in high definition on Fox, getting into the final week, the final push before the postseason.
And this is what Gary Kubiak wanted to avoid. Dallas has been awfully good through 2 games on 3rd down, and it's not easy 3rd and long.
And they hand it off to Foster. Has some room to run. And how about 3rd and 19, handed off, and Arian Foster has a first down.
It was good blocking on the left side, but then Andre Johnson, you're going to see, you see the push there on the left side by Wade Smith, but right here's where the play's made. Andre Johnson on the outside is able to get enough of Michael Jenkins to spring him for those last 4 yards and pick up that first down. You know, you call that play as an offensive coordinator, never expecting to pick up that first down. If something happens, great, but primarily you're just saying, all right, here's what we're going to do. But it was blocked up well, and Andre Johnson doing a good job as a blocker.
Here's Slayton, cuts up field, and Slayton this time gets back to the line of scrimmage. Brady James makes the play. But as a defense, which is coordinated by head coach Wade Phillips, I'll say it again, they've gotten a free pass with all the focus being on the offense, and it's 3rd and 19, and you give up a 21-yard run in a game you have to have on the road.
I think sometimes you get caught up in statistics a little too much and rankings and don't really look at, okay, is a team doing the things necessary to win games? I would agree, Joe. Last year and in previous years, sometimes they didn't finish games, and they've never been real good at takeaways.
Here's Andre Johnson, has blocking out in front of him. Drags the pile to the 6.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, Rashad Butler, for a guy making his first NFL start, I think has been awfully good here in the early going. He comes out here and does a good job on Michael Jenkins. You see him leading the way. Wade Smith also gets out. This offensive line has been really solid here in giving Matt Schaub time to throw the ball, but they've been good in creating some lanes for Arian Foster, as well as getting out in space on the necessary defensive players.
1st and goal. It's Foster right side. Takes it down to the 5. A gain of 1. Rashad Butler, who gets that first start at left tackle, was originally a 3rd-round draft pick of Carolina back in 2006. But he developed colitis, which took away his energy, took away his appetite. He lost a ton of weight. He was cut by Carolina in 07, signed here. They figured out his problem, got him on the right medication, and now he's getting a chance because of the suspension handed to Dwayne Brown, and he's making the most of it.
Until that play right there, it looked like he might have been the one moving.
False start, number 78, offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
But I think, Joe, in talking about Rashad Butler, as you see him, flinch right there, that you never really know, even though in talking with the coaches and Matt Schaub, they really were confident coming in. This guy, hey, he's played enough, he's been around, he's been in the system, we've seen what he does in practice, and when he has had his opportunities, he'll be fine. But you always wonder how a guy will react when he puts the pressure on himself, making his first NFL start. I tell you, so far he's passed with flying colors.
Here's one to the end zone, and there was a lot of contact. Pass was over the head of Kevin Walter. No flag. Terrence Newman back there in coverage.
We oftentimes have talked about the Cowboys and the weapons that they have offensively. This Houston team, they've got some weapons as well, and Kevin Walter is certainly one of those. I mean, he's been exceptional this year, and You know, he's one of those guys who can just kind of do it all, and he's a dependable guy. And I know that as a quarterback, you never have enough of those types of players when you know they're going to be where they're supposed to be, and then make the plays for you when you need them.
It's 3rd down and goal. Schaub drops it off for Foster. He'll have to do it himself. There's nothing out there. And if nothing else, the Dallas defense holds on a goal-to-go situation, a gain of 4, and the field goal unit will come on for Houston.
Michael Jenkins has an opportunity. He fails to make the tackle, but then Skandrick is there and gets a little bit of help. But you know, even though Houston was able to do some things offensively and a nice drive there by them, they've got to be disappointed that they weren't able to come away with anything more than potentially a field goal, and a good stop down here in the red zone for Dallas.
Now Neil Rackers kicked the game winner in overtime last week, drills a 24-yarder, and the first points belong to the home team. Texans on top of the Cowboys 3-0. Rackers, longtime Arizona Cardinal, before that Cincinnati Bengal. He was in a training camp battle with Chris Brown. 8-year kicker here with the Texans. He won it. He's been good so far. Owusu Ansah on the return, and the rookie gets it to the 20. That's it. Take a break. Down 3-0. Tony Romo and company back to the field here in Houston.
Triple hops brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness. By Ford. Drive one. And by Nike.
Well, anybody expecting to tune in today to see a different looking Dallas Cowboys offense, they're seeing the same thing. Mistakes on offense. They were penalized 3 times their opening possession. Able to move it. Don't have any points. Passed on a field goal try. Looking for some spark, now down by 3. Out of the backfield, this is Felix Jones. Has Colombo out in front of him. A flag comes in as Felix Jones takes it into Houston territory. But a penalty flag is thrown.
Like they might have got Miles Austin with a block in the back, and I'm not sure it was a block that he really needed to have.
During the run, illegal block in the back. Number 19 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
There you go. More of the same.
Yeah, you're going to see Glover Quinn. He gets in front of him here, and then that's the push in the back. And I'm not sure that with that block, or without that block, that Glover would have been able to make the play. You see Mark Colombo, the right tackle, as well as Leonard Davis. It was like a track meet. Nobody had to block anybody, and initially it looked like there might be a score, but just a bad decision there by Miles Austin.
So instead of a 1st and 10 at the Houston 48, it's 1st and 20 at the Dallas 10. Play clock at 3. Delayed handoff. Felix Jones out to the 14. Here's a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Like the Cowboys, Minnesota looking for its first win, facing Detroit down 7-0, but doesn't get much easier than this. Percy Harvin with a dive to catch the pass from Brett Favre. 24-yard score. At 7. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
And he was iffy during the week with more migraines. He gets the action today and gets the first touchdown for the Vikings to tie it. Next one will be number 500 for Brett Favre. It's 2nd and 16. Here's Roy Williams. And Williams was bottled up immediately by the rookie Kareem Jackson. 20th pick overall in the 1st round out of Alabama.
Well, and you think about Dallas offensively to come out on 1st down and have the big play to Felix Jones, and then, you know, once again, and I know Cowboy fans who have been following this team this year, they're used to seeing that. Every time there's a play down the field virtually, then there's a penalty that sets them back. It's hard to call plays for Jason Garrett when you're constantly looking at 1st down, 2nd down, and long.
Romo throws for Roy Williams and hits him. And a big conversion on third down for Dallas as Roy Williams is good for 20 yards.
That's that area of the field that's right in behind the corner whenever he's getting help. You see this Kareem Jackson, and right along that sideline, if you can get him behind the corner and throw it and hit him there in that spot prior to the safety, this time Pollard coming over to help. It's a nice area there to get the ball to him, and that's the spot that they just exposed with Roy Williams.
Barber now back in and running back for Dallas. Romo steps up and throws for Witten, who makes the catch going to the ground. And then gets a hit from Pollard at the end of it, a gain of 12.
Dallas is trying to take a shot down the field, but pressure got Romo off of it. They had a post route deep, but Romo's able to get it out, and a nice catch by Jason Witten, hauling that one in. Witten coming off of the concussion last week, didn't get to play towards the end of that ball game, and he went down and looked like he might have banged his head on that play.
Here's Barber. Barber right into Zach Dials. And a formed tackle for a gain of just 1.
I like these linebackers for the Houston Texans. Of course, they're playing with Defensive Rookie of the Year from a year ago, Brian Cushing, who's serving a 4-game suspension. Xavier Adibi has taken his place, but D'Amico Ryans, a 2-time Pro Bowler, and Zach Dials, these are 2 guys that I like the fact that they play downhill and they will come up and put a hit on you.
Second down and 9. Romo's going to go for it all down the sideline. A twist, a catch, incomplete. Des Bryant. Rookie on rookie, Des Bryant on Kareem Jackson.
You know, Des Bryant here ran a double move. Take a look, and I thought they might have called pass interference on Kareem Jackson. Looked like contact made before he made the catch. But on the outside, they were trying to set up the rookie Kareem Jackson with a little bit of a double move. And that's probably one area where Des Bryant needs to get a little bit more polished. But he's playing. He was limited in practice this week. He's got fractured rib. And he had to take a little medication before this game in order to get out here on the field and play.
Romo throws, pass is complete, and in the effort for the first down by Bryant. He didn't have it until that last effort, 10 yards for a first down.
Well, and Des Bryant, through 2.5 games now, has made his impact felt. You know, 8 catches in week 1 against Washington. Last week, he takes a punt return for a touchdown, and he's very difficult to get on the ground. You can tell that he has great confidence in his strength and size, that he's constantly trying to throw defensive backs off of him, and because of that, he oftentimes gets tackled pretty hard, and the end of those plays are pretty violent.
On first down, it's Barber. Out of the backfield, Marion Barber, a nice play on first down, a gain of 5. And so now another long drive being put together. Remember the penalty that erased the big play to Felix Jones right out of the gate. They are past that point and then some now at the Houston 29.
And it looked like at one time, Joe, a few plays back, that Tony Romo was starting to get into maybe a no huddle and started to get the guys at the line of scrimmage, and then he rethought it and got him back in the huddle. But that might be something we see at some point.
Here's Roy Williams, makes a nice catch in traffic. I'll say this for Roy Williams. A lot of people, Troy, have picked on him over the years. We've been critical of him in the past. But here early in the season, he's made some tougher catches for Tony Romo.
No, he has. And that route right there, as easy as it may look, we've seen these 2 guys misconnect on that slant route. And Tony gives him a good ball to catch. And, you know, Roy Williams, hey, he's been an abused player since coming to Dallas because he hasn't produced the way that a lot of people felt that he would. But he has made some tough catches, as you said.
Romo to the backside as receiver Bennett fell down. It's 2nd and 10.
Martellus Bennett, we showed him a little bit earlier. hobbling off the field, and that would have been a pretty significant loss if he had not been able to come back into this game. We talked last week about the fact John Phillips, their third tight end, it affected them because of all the things they like to do with their various tight ends. But if they lose Martellus Bennett, he's turned into a pretty good blocker, and they lose that if he's then not out on the field.
Second down and 10. Handoff is to Barber, and the play is made by Antonio Smith. No gain.
Antonio Smith, he comes right through Leonard Davis, the right guard. Leonard Davis, about as big a guy as there is in the league, and you're going to see him come right through here and make the tackle on the backside. Antonio Smith, Leonard Davis just whiffs on him, and it looked like Marion Barber might have been able to bounce that thing to the outside, but not because of Antonio Smith coming down on him. He was unable to do that.
Romo, catch made by Austin. What an adjustment by Austin, who was wrestled down inside the 1 by McCain.
Well, you can tell the timing that, and the trust, more importantly, that Tony Romo has in Miles Austin. He turns this ball loose at the top of this route, and you see how quickly it gets on Miles Austin. The ball's away from him, but he's got exceptional hands. This is a guy who came into this game with 20 receptions, on pace for 160 catches this year, Joe. I don't know, that might be some kind of record, but there is great confidence between Tony Romo and Miles Austin.
He sets up first and goal, and now a timeout's taken by Houston. It hasn't been easy on this drive. There have been a couple of big third down conversions, but Romo has the Cowboys at the Houston 1. It's already been 12 plays. The Cowboys on this drive have converted 2 3rd and 9s, 1 3rd and 10 to set themselves up inside the 1 with a first and goal down by 3. Barber gets it and scores. Touchdown, Dallas. And for Marion Barber, that's his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Cowboys go full house backfield with Jason Witten and then Gronkowski, their fullback, and just hand the ball off to Marion Barber right behind those two. And before there's any contact, Barber's already in the end zone. Nice drive there by the Cowboys.
That is the 50th career touchdown for Marion Barber, 44th rushing, and it puts Dallas on top for the first time today. Miles Austin with a big conversion on that drive. He was a part of it. Is Wade smiling? Oh, you bet. 7-3 Dallas.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Burger King. Have it your way.
Long drive put together by Houston, netted 3 points. Marion Barber trying to charge everybody up on the sideline. The long drive by the Dallas Cowboys gets 7. And the Cowboys, while showing the run early, they went down the field through the air.
Well, Dallas's defense should be well rested.
The kickoff by Beeler. From the goal line, it's Slayton. And Slayton gets it back to the 20. Marion Barber spent his time talking to the defense. He did his job. Now telling the defense, go do yours. Cowboys up 4. Matt Schaub in the offense. Set up at their own 20, down 7-3. Play action from Schaub, who wants to air it out down the middle, and that one is broken up by Newman. Andre Johnson, the intended receiver.
It's good coverage there by Terrence Newman. Had one guy going deep, and then Andre Johnson coming in behind that on the square end at about 17-18 yards, and Terrence Newman was able to get underneath it, and it really forced Schaub then to try to throw something high to give him an opportunity.
on 2nd down and 10. Handoff is to Foster, running right. 1st down and more as he takes it out to the 34, a gain of 14 yards.
I've been impressed with this offensive line for Houston and the way that they have blocked here in this first half in the run game. This is a big defensive front for the Dallas Cowboys, and there have been some nice holes for Arian Foster. And the other part of that, we've seen Andre Johnson now a couple different times blocking, and for a guy who's an absolute superstar as a receiver to be doing the grunt work of blocking says a lot about him.
On 1st down, it's Foster, cuts it upfield and runs into the arms of Jay Ratliff. A gain of 2.
And one of the things I noticed watching film this week, you see how low to the ground Matt Schaub is, and no quarterback likes that. I mean, you can see he can barely see over the helmet there of his center, Chris Myers, and Chris Myers isn't a small guy. He's 6'4", and Schaub is 6'5", but it's just the stance that Chris Myers uses that forces Schaub to get awfully low, and it's a problem sometimes. He says it's a problem when you've got a press corner like you do right here for Schaub in being able to see if in fact that guy's in press coverage.
Here's a pass behind Johnson, incomplete. And then Johnson wrestled to the ground by Terrence Newman. We are at the 2-minute warning on the nose. It'll be a 3rd down when we come back for Houston as they trail 7-3. One of the all-time greats, Earl Campbell, in attendance here today, went into the Hall of Fame in '91. Running back with the Houston Oilers, 78 to 84, and when those legs were churning, just bowling people over. Fun to watch run. Here's Schaub on 3rd down, and there's DeMarcus Ware. That's his 2nd of the game.
Well, DeMarcus Ware, he just keeps playing. You see on the outside, and once he gets to the level that Schaub's at, he's able to come off of that block. And Schaub, I mean, it was pretty good protection, really. He just is able to come back underneath the block and then bring Matt Schaub down. But Joel Dreesen was the one in protection there. Just not a lot of places for Matt Schaub to go with the football. When he's gotten hit, it primarily has been because of coverage on the back end.
Dallas takes a timeout. They're left with 1. Minute 55 remaining, so trying to get the ball back on this punt. Des Bryant is waiting deep. He had a 62-yarder for a touchdown last week against Chicago. The 12th multiple sack game for DeMarcus Ware as he gets his 2nd. Turk punts it. Chance for Bryant. Gets to the far side of the field. Can't get around Dreesen. And is out across the 35, a 10-yard return. We go then and now with Earl Campbell. We just saw him. And who doesn't remember highlights like these? And during the era of the tearaway jersey, good luck. And here's Earl now in front of his old stomping grounds, the Astrodome, which is just next door. Now has a line of meat products that he sells. There's still many fans that come out and see the big Texan at home game.
I don't know if you've had any of that sausage, Joe, but it is really good. And I do know this, Earl loves the barbecue that he puts out. And what an all-time great guy. I mean, you said it, 7-year career. When you watched him run and the way he pounded over people, it's amazing that he even played that long. He was awfully fun to watch.
On 1st down, it's Felix Jones, and Felix Jones will bounce it for 10+. He gets 12 and a 1st down. Pollard on the stop for Houston. Well, you thought early on, while the Cowboys wanted to establish the run, and they did in their first possession, it would be weird for them to steer clear of the pass. That's how they got it down the field the last time they had it for the touchdown. And now the completion over the middle to Witten for 6.
Well, and this is just an area of the game where I think Tony Romo is really excelled over the years. There's few times, whether it's at the end of a half or at the end of a game, where he doesn't put his team in a position to score points.
Here's Witten again. He's got a 1st down for Dallas. And how about the hit by the rookie Kareem Jackson? He just launched himself into the body of Jason Witten trying to knock the ball loose.
Well, I know Frank Bush, the defensive coordinator, said that's one of the things they really like about this young man is that he's not afraid to come up and hit.
On first down, sideline Bryant. Penalty flag is thrown, and Bryant is in for the touchdown. But a flag is thrown.
I think Bryant may have gone out of bounds. Kareem Jackson worked him to the sideline right there, and then sure enough.
Number 88 of the offense. That player went out of bounds, returned, and was the first to touch the pass. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Yeah, you hear the call there that once you get forced out of bounds, even if it is a force out, you can't then be the first guy to touch the ball, as Bryant was on that play.
So it's another offensive penalty. This one takes points off the board. It moves the ball back to the 42. And now just 27 seconds left. And remember, waiting on the sideline is David Beeler in his first year as the place kicker for Dallas.
In that area of the sideline, you know, in that too deep coverage that Houston has been running at times, that's the area that Dallas has been able to exploit.
Pass is incomplete, and a penalty flag will come in as Kareem Jackson interfered with Miles Austin.
Yeah, I thought that was a good call. You're going to see his right arm. Good route there by Miles Austin. The right arm goes around the waist there prior to the ball arriving. And the official was in a great spot to make that call.
Defense, automatic, first down.
Called the wrong number. It was clearly on Kareem Jackson, who you knew coming out of college. A Nick Saban coached defensive back at Alabama. A very hands-on coach at that particular position. He'd be ready for action immediately, and he's been tested. He's had some tough times, but he's out there sink or swim for Houston. Romo, time runs out, and he throws it in the direction of nowhere. That'll be grounding. Really in the direction of no receiver while he was still inside the pocket. Mark with heavy pressure.
Well, he's trying to go to Miles Austin here, the slot receiver. Just good coverage, and you know, he just had nowhere to go and tries to get rid of the football, and a good call on intentional pass interference. That's Glover Quinn in coverage. Locked up man-to-man on Miles Austin.
Number 9, offense. That's a loss of down. It'll be second down. To avoid a 10-second runoff, Dallas has elected to use their third and final charge timeout.
So it's been more mistakes for this Dallas offense, including Des Bryant going out of bounds. Obviously, they're outside of field goal range. The ball's at the 45-yard line. You don't really know the range of David Beeler except what he's done in practice. As we showed you, he has not attempted a field goal over 50 yards since he got to college at USC.
Well, we did that game last week in Dallas with the Cowboys and the Bears, and you know, he's now missed a field goal in each of the first 2 games, and you know, I thought that we'd wake up on Monday and see that, you know, he had been released, and you know, I don't know. He's got a lot of a potential, but I think it had more to do with, okay,
15 yards to have a realistic shot at a field goal and have to do it along the sideline. The pass was behind Roy.
Exploiting right in behind the corner and right in front of the safety. And Kareem Jackson has to play that softer so that he's not giving up that ground. But a better throw, and Roy Williams picks up that first down because he had run a pretty good route, and just a ball that Tony Romo would like to have back.
No timeouts remaining for Dallas. They need something along the sideline, and again about 15 yards to give Beeler a chance.
Yeah, and the Houston Texans now are in a true prevent defense with basically 4 guys deep.
Romo steps up and slings it. The catch is made by Witten, and they're saying it's a good catch, and that puts Beeler in field goal range with 1 second left.
Well, you don't usually get that one at home, do you? You know, the catch, and then to still have 1 second left on the clock.
And that's about as close as it can get. Obviously, any review as to whether Witten had both feet down in time would come from the officials' booth.
I think they should be reviewing that too.
So does Gary Kubiak.
The previous play is under review.
If it stands, it's a 49-yard try by Beeler. who is just barely hanging on to his job.
So do you think Beeler wants them to get this completion or not?
I was wondering the same thing. I think you could make a case that Witten had both feet down by the time he possessed it right there. The question is, I think maybe he even got the right foot in before he got out of bounds.
I think it's that right heel too at the initial time of the reception.
It's a booth review. We'll come back and get the call after this. We were in a booth review and we will get the call from Carl Sheffers. Here it is.
After review, the call on the field is confirmed. The receiver caught the ball, got 2 feet down in bounds. It is a catch. Dallas will have the ball at that point. First down.
So now here you go, David Beeler. A 49-yard try. He, in week 1, missed a 34-yard field goal that would have tied the game in the second quarter at Washington, and last week missed a 44-yarder that would have tied the game with the Bears with 7 minutes left.
And the review basically served as somewhat of an icing for the kicker.
Now the play clock was at 0. The field goal is good, but a flag is down. There's a flag on the far side of the field, and if you looked at our clock, play clock, it was at 0. But evidently the call's against Houston.
Defense lined up in the neutral zone. That penalty is declined. The field goal is good. The end of the first half.
So Beeler hits. They're all smiles. The Cowboys are going to the dressing room as they lead it by 7. Good from 49. A career best for David Beeler. It's 10-3 Cowboys at the half. Back after this from your local Fox station. Who's not ready for his second half after that? It's 10-3 Dallas on top. We go back to the end of the first half and the field goal by Beeler. Watch the play clock. It is exactly synced with the play clock in the stadium, and it is on zeros when the ball snapped. But Beeler hit from 49 and made it a 10-3 game at the half. And now as we get ready to start the second half of play, we welcome you inside our broadcast booth, and I guess we'll talk about the Cowboy defense stepping up. So far they've been able to bottle up that Shaw-Andre Johnson combination.
Well, so far they have. I think, you know, both offenses have put together long drives, and as we spoke about there in the first half, Cowboys came away with a touchdown. The Texans came away with just a field goal, but now they get the opportunity to match, getting the ball to start this second half.
But we'll see how the Texans come out of the gate offensively. As Beeler kicks it away. Got to be a bit relieved hitting that 49-yarder. Has yet to rack up a touchback so far this season. He led the NFL in that category last year, and Slayton returns it for 18 yards down to the field, and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, the Texans displayed a lot of bravado as they walked into the locker room. One player, I heard him say that, you know, all we got to do is get our hands on the ball and they can't stop us. Gary Kubiak couldn't agree more after 3 offensive possessions only for his group. He says we have got to flip that this half and we'll be okay. Back to you.
All right, Pam. So yeah, only 3 times with a football for the team that was ranked number 1 in the NFL in team offense coming in. And they hand it off to Arian Foster, and making that hit was Brady James, a gain of 4.
I think the other part of this too, Joe, is that, you know, a 7-point deficit for the Houston Texans going in at halftime. That's nothing for them. I mean, compared to what they came back from last week. And I think it really kind of started the last game of the season against the New England Patriots, the way they came back in that game. Talking to these players, it carried them into the offseason, but, you know, to come back from 17 last week, heck, this is kids play right here.
2nd down and 6. Foster cuts upfield. Takes it across the 25 to the 26, gain 4, third and a couple coming. And here are the offensive leaders for the Houston Texans. The record of 2-0, taking on the winless Dallas Cowboys. Schaub has started this game 7 for 11, 66 yards after throwing for 497 at Washington last week.
Well, the biggest thing, I mean, we see Arian Foster and how productive he's been on just 10 carries, 73 yards. They just haven't had the ball, and they've got to get their defense to stop, to make some stops so they can get more opportunities offensively.
Toss to Foster running right, and Foster has enough for a first down. A gain of 4, sensible on the tackle. Arian Foster was undrafted out of Tennessee. He had a good career there, had a disappointing senior season. He was signed here, was on the practice squad last year for the first 10 weeks. 256 yards down the stretch, had a 119-yard game in his first start week 17, and it carried over to that huge day against the Colts week 1. And the Texans say he runs with a chip on his shoulder that he's had there since he wasn't drafted.
I hope nobody knocks it off.
Derek Ward is in the lineup, and this one is broken up. Brooking made the play, and a flag is thrown. Andre Johnson, the intended receiver.
Keith Brooking came in and zone coverage again, and he gets there before the ball arrives right across the headgear. Flag came in late, actually. Andre Johnson got up looking around, wondering why he didn't see a flag, and then finally one was thrown.
First down.
Brooking is a guy who's a 5-time Pro Bowler. Last time he went to the Pro Bowl was 05. He's never missed a game in his career, and now he's basically on the field the entire game defensively for Dallas.
Yeah, and at his age, I mean, that's impressive. One, playing that position all those years, not having missed a game, but it's taxing on this guy. I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain that pace throughout the year.
Here's Derek Ward, and Ward goes for just a yard. Next weekend on FSN, it's a college football Saturday doubleheader. First, it's a Big 12 battle as KU Kansas goes head-to-head with Robert Griffin and Baylor. Then Aaron Murphy leads Georgia into Colorado for an SEC Big 12 showdown. College football Saturday next weekend on FSN.
My alma mater, UCLA, with a big win here in the state of Texas at UT yesterday. Only 9 passes thrown in that game for UCLA.
How quickly would you have transferred out of UCLA?
I would have transferred back to OU.
Here is a pass complete to Andre Johnson, brought down by Skandrick, a gain of 10. And Johnson, who came in with a sprained ankle, can't get up.
Was in man coverage there, but you're right. I mean, he was able to play through that last week. Talked to him before the game. He said he felt pretty good, but you could see him, the tackle down low around his ankles.
Take a break, come back as they look at the top weapon for this Houston offense.
By Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By OnStar, safely connecting you in ways you never thought possible. Live on. By Budweiser. Grab some buds and be a part of the Budweiser National Happy Hour on September 29th. And by Fidelity Investments. Turn here.
Andre Johnson needed a lot of help and took a long time to get to the sideline. They look at his right lower leg as on first down, Schaub hits Vontae Leach out of the backfield, gets a block from Owen Daniels, and a big play for the Houston fullback. 17 yards to number 44.
Nice job by Matt Schaub. He's trying to get the ball down the field. You see the mastering that he has of this offense, knowing exactly where his check down is, his outlet to get the ball out in trouble. And Vontae Leach, and it's a nice block there on the outside, getting him a few more yards. You know, Andre Johnson going down, Joe, that's a third of their passing production from a year ago. I mean, it's an understatement to say what a big loss that is.
On first down, play action. And the pass is behind the intended receiver, Foster.
This is the play where Andre Johnson went down. You're going to see that right ankle, and that's the ankle that he was nursing coming into this game from last weekend, and that didn't look good. You said it, Joe, the way that he got up and with the assistance that was required to get him off the field. I know he was able to come back in last week's game and have a heroic effort, but I don't know, that might be asking a little too much here today.
It's about as much attention as somebody can receive on the sideline, and why not? Led the NFL in receiving yardage the last 2 years. Off to a great start again, and now Arian Foster goes nowhere. And it was Stephen Bowen in on the stop, a loss of 2. 3rd and long coming up for Houston.
Now, you talked about it, 1,500 yards the last 2 years, and probably would have gotten 1,500 yards in 07, but he got injured and missed 8 games or so that year, and was on pace for another 1,500 yard season. And then in 06 he led the league in receptions. I mean, this guy has been quietly one of the most productive wide receivers in all of football for quite some time.
3rd down and 12. From the shotgun over the middle, and now Shaw pulls it down, tries to run, and goes nowhere. Ratliff was in his face, a loss of 2 on the play, and that Houston drive stalls after it crossed midfield.
Yeah, so one thing that you're not going to see out of Matt Schaub, that he rarely will tuck the ball and run, and so because of that, Dallas likes to play man coverage anyway, but then you're more inclined to play man coverage against a quarterback that isn't going to scramble. And he's had opportunities this year, and he certainly did right there. Had he have taken it, he might have been able to pick up some pretty good yardage.
Turk punts it. Owusu Ansah stays away, and that ball is touched up around the 15-yard line by McManus. They're going to mark it just outside the 13. Dallas with the football and a 7-point lead. The offensive leaders for the Cowboys, who lead by 7 and start at their own 15. Handoff to Marion Barber. And Barber takes it out to the 19-yard line, a gain of 4. Next weekend, Donovan McNabb goes back to Philly.
But sometimes change is better.
Well, Donovan McNabb about to take his first snap with the Washington Redskins. When did this happen?
Starting a new chapter in the book of Donovan.
The book of Donovan. It'll be a new chapter. Don't worry about that. Next weekend, part of our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader.
How do you think he'll be received in Philadelphia?
Let's do the 2nd and 6 play first.
The pause said it all.
Fake the handoff. Romo buys time and now drops it to Witten. And a good play is made by D'Amico Ryans, a gain of 3. Andre Johnson's trying to lace him up tight to get back on the field next time Houston has the ball.
I think if I were Matt Schaub, I'd be over there lacing him up for him. I'd be like that shoe clerk, trying on a new pair of shoes.
Instead, Schaub's talking to Greg Knapp while the Cowboys face 3rd and 3. Throw is almost picked off. Eugene Wilson had a crack at it after Des Bryant got his hand on the football.
Mario Williams from a stand-up position. He has not done much in this game, but he goes by Colombo because Colombo takes the inside linebacker, Zach Dials. But the pressure on Romo is what forced him then to turn that loose high. Had he have had a clean lane to throw the ball, then he likely would have been able to make a much better throw.
It's the 2nd punt by McBriar, and that Houston offense will get another crack at it with the football after the defense does its job. Jacoby Jones just inside the 20. Nice move along the sideline, and then nowhere to go. 58-yard punt. 7-yard return. Will Andre Johnson be in the huddle when we come back? His team down 7.
Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty.
Andre Johnson will start this series on the sideline, trying to stretch out that ankle or foot, whatever the issue is, after that tackle by Scandrick. Last time the Texans had the ball. Here's Foster. And Foster picks up 1 over the left side. We're going to keep an eye on the sideline, and here comes Andre.
Yeah, you can hear the crowd react. All eyes here were on Andre, number 80, on the sideline, seeing if he was going to return. And as soon as he stepped out onto the field, he got a nice little applause.
It's 2nd down and 9. Drive was moving until Andre Johnson went down the last time the Texans had it. Moving pretty well as this one's dropped over the middle to Foster. And Arian Foster's brought down from behind by Spears after a gain of 15. You get the feeling that the Houston Texans are going to need Andre Johnson on that field if they're going to come back and win this ball game against Dallas.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, this is not uncharted territory for this Houston team. And you think about it, defensively in the last couple of weeks, they've made stops when they've had to. They start this one in the second half, do a good job of forcing a punt with the Cowboys. They get the ball back here. This is a team, based on what has happened through their first 2 games, that really believes they can win any type of game. And so I think it's still a real confident unit.
Good play in the backfield, and a penalty flag flies. A loss of 2. Arian Foster went down behind the line of scrimmage, and a flag came in the area of a hold. And before we give you a game break, we'll get the call.
Holding, number 73, offense, 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
So here's the game break, and here's Curt Menefee.
Titans at the Giants. Tennessee scoring 9 points in less than 3 minutes after a safety. Vince Young then hooked up with Kenny Britt for a touchdown. And just like that, bim, bam, boom, it's 19-10. Tennessee on top of New York. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
So Vince Young, who was benched last week, back in there and throwing the touchdown. A 9-point lead for Tennessee at the Giants. Here it's a 7-point lead for the Cowboys. That's Slayton now at the bottom of your screen. They give it to him. DeMarcus Ware couldn't make the play initially, but Brady James does. A gain of 3. Slayton, who was the leading rusher for this team 2 years ago, 1,200-yard back in 2008. Last year had a shoulder injury, was shut down at the end of the year, just 437 yards to lead this team in rushing. Really has not made an impact in this game here this afternoon. Here's Andre Johnson. Shaw, time runs out. Penalty flag flies, and the pass incomplete. Brooking is looking at Owen Daniels. And this one's going to be against number 51, Keith Brooking, it appears.
Yeah, it was right. The flag was thrown where Keith Brooking was.
Contact, number 21, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
But they call it on Michael Jenkins against Andre Johnson. You can see he's in press coverage, and Andre Johnson right there is a grab. He's trying to get underneath. Actually, a pretty good swim move there by Andre Johnson, trying to get back to the middle against that inside leverage technique by Jenkins, and then Jenkins grabbed hold of him. And you know, he's not at 100% either. That's pretty tough duty right there, being asked to lock up one-on-one against Andre Johnson.
The big penalty, it's only 5 yards, but instead of 3rd and 17, it's an automatic first down. And now this one has Jenkins in position. And Mike Jenkins with the interception, and the Dallas defense has its first takeaway.
Yeah, and during that route, Andre Johnson, he stumbled at the top of it. I don't know if it had anything to do with his ankle or not, but he gets tangled up. Open it up for Jenkins.
Cowboys take over. The defense took one away. Dallas up 7. The first turnover of the game for either team. It belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. With 100 151 opponents' pass attempts since their last interception, and 176 opponent snaps since the last Dallas takeaway. They start at their 10, up 7. Handoff is to Felix Jones. Room to run. Felix Jones is out across the 25.
Yeah, Dallas comes out to open up this series. They go with 3 wide receivers, which forces then Houston to put 5 defensive backs on the field, weakening their run defense, and then they go with the handoff draw to Felix Jones and a lot of running lanes for him.
Delayed handoff to Felix, and he lunges forward out just shy of the 30. Tonight on Fox, Animation Domination is back with a killer 1-hour season premiere of Family Guy. It's the event that'll have you asking who done it. Someone won't survive the night. Family Guy 1-hour season premiere, part of Animation Domination tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, here on Fox. Rather balanced attack put together by the Dallas offense. 2nd and 6.
You see Antonio Smith there, a defensive end who's in stand-up position right over the ball.
Here's Des Bryant, and the rookie makes the catch. He's about 1.5 yards shy of a first down. Glover Quinn on the stop for the Texans.
Gain of 3 yards on the play. Brings up 3rd down and 3. It's a 3rd down and 1 for the Cowboys.
On 3rd down and 1, the pass is complete, and it's Sam Hurd who picks right now for his first catch of the season. 11 yards on 3rd down, and what a good throw by Romo.
You know, we saw Mario Williams get pressure on Romo on the last series, but other than that, we really haven't seen him do too much, and Mark Colombo just one-on-one against him does a good job of keeping him from being a factor. And they come with the slant route. Sam Hurd picked a nice time to come down with his first reception of the year.
7 different receiver Romo has found in this game. That was good for 11. Hurd stays out there. Little pump faking down the sideline. This pass is caught. The reception made by Des Bryant.
It wasn't bad coverage there by the 2nd-year man Bryce McCain, but a perfectly thrown pass. You're going to see that Des Bryant gives Romo at least a little room to throw that ball, and he dropped this one right out of the helicopter and lands it right into Des Bryant's hands. A perfectly thrown pass.
And Des Bryant, who the Cowboys traded up to get, who had the punt return for a touchdown last week, is good for 30 yards. That's his 3rd catch. And now a roll to the right, wide open is Bennett. And you're starting to see some of the weapons that the Cowboys and their fans have been waiting for to show up. That was good for 11 yards and another first down.
Well, I know the Cowboys have run the ball more in this game than they did the first 2 weeks, and they've had some success doing that. But this team has always been about big plays, and they get those in the passing game, and with those big plays, that's generally when you come away with points and score a lot of points in the course of a game. We've seen now 2 pretty nice plays in the passing game.
First down inside the red zone. Roy Williams, what a throw and catch. Touchdown, Dallas.
They targeted Bryce McCain again, and McCain was talking to the official as if there should have been offensive pass interference. Press coverage. Roy Williams with an excellent release. There's nothing there. I don't know what McCain's complaining about. That was an outstanding release off the line of scrimmage against press corner. by Roy Williams. He sticks him to the outside, gets the separation, gets McCain off balance, and then just straight up the field, and another well-thrown ball by Romo.
He was picked up in a trade from Detroit in 2008. Last year, Roy Williams had only 38 catches all year. He gets his first touchdown of the 2010 season, and he has been much more of a factor here early for the Dallas Cowboys than he was at any point last year. Romo, couple of good throws. Cowboys up 14. Seven-play drive. It covered 90 yards 4 minutes after the interception by Mike Jenkins. Cowboys turn it into 7, lead by 14. First 2 plays of that drive were Felix Jones runs, a 15-yarder, a 4-yarder, and then 5 straight Romo completions for 71 yards and the touchdown to Roy Williams.
We're going to go back and show that route that Roy Williams ran, Joe. It's as good a route as I've seen Roy Williams run. I thought he was absolutely outstanding at getting off of press coverage, which he has struggled with during his time with the Cowboys.
Beeler hits it, and from inside the end zone, it's Slayton. And Slayton crosses the 20 out near the 24.
You're going to see this move by Roy Williams. It's all in the first step. When he takes this first step with his right foot, watch what it does there to McCain. It gets him off balance, and he's moving then to his right, and then Roy Williams has an open lane to come off the ball and give somewhere for Tony Romo to just lay it out there. Now, it still takes a well-thrown pass from Romo, but it was the release off the line of scrimmage that made all that happen.
And Tony Romo, with his welcoming committee along the sideline, now watches the Dallas defense as the Texans are down by 14. Penalty flag flies as Foster gets it. A gain of 3, but a flag is down.
Offside, number 99 defense lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Olshansky doesn't agree. This is a Dallas team that had a players-only meeting on Monday after losing their home opener last Sunday to the Chicago Bears. Terrence Newman had questioned the environment around practice, trying to get things a little tighter. They stumbled a bit early here in Houston, but in a game that the Dallas Cowboys need to win to avoid going 0-3, they lead by 14 points on the road. Their offense is scoring touchdowns. Here's Foster. Foster can run. Jenkins forces him out inside Dallas territory near the 45.
Well, that left side of the offensive line, Rashad Butler and Wade Smith, look how they collapse the backside. And then Arian Foster has to be able to see that and put his foot in the ground and get headed up north and south. And that's part of this offense, that you've got to look for the cutback lanes. A lot of times on the backside, these offensive linemen want to get the defenders on the ground. That time they just collapse the whole left side. Arian Foster has great vision. He's able to find the hole.
It's been a 100-yard day for Foster as Derek Ward carries it, and that's the first running back to go for over 100 against this Dallas defense in 20 games.
You know, Joe, you talk about that player-only meeting. I was a part of some of those, and I never did like them because, one, you only have them when you're losing, so they're never really a lot of fun to attend. You never have them when you're 3-0 or playing well, and then typically you come out of those meetings and you feel like you got more problems because everybody has an opinion and a voice as to what the problem is. You come out of those meetings thinking that things are a heck of a lot worse than what you thought when you went in. And but yet, having said that, sometimes they can be positive, and if the Cowboys go on to win this game, then I think they'll look back on that and say it was something that was very helpful.
Jay Ratliff needs help getting off the field, dinged up. It's been a long week for him, long couple of weeks. His grandparents, Arletha and Willie, a World War II vet, died in a house fire in Hayhira, Georgia on September 15th. Funeral was Wednesday. Played last week, plays today. Was flown to the funeral, private airplane of Jerry Jones, and he is a vital part right in the middle of this 3-4 defense. Right over the middle, Jacoby Jones to the 25. And that will end the third quarter with the Texans on the move. They need to move it. They're down by 14, 1 quarter to go. The NFL on Fox will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Schaub is 12 for 18, just completed 1-2. Jacoby Jones to set up a first down at the Dallas 27. Play action. Schaub fires and completes to Andre Johnson. Bad ankle, bad foot and all, whatever the injury. He is retaped, ready to go, and good for 15 yards.
Well, this time they put Terrence Newman on Andre Johnson one-on-one, and you can see, even though with a bad ankle, the respect that he gets from Terrence Newman, because Newman's not going to crowd him too much, because he has the speed to run by you, and you look out there and see that much field one-on-one. I don't know how Matt Schaub could think about going anywhere else with the ball. And he's going to have one-on-one right here as well.
Rolls out to his right, underneath Owen Daniels. Touchdown. A delayed call. He looked like he was down short of the goal line, but they say touchdown. And that might get overruled.
Now let's take a look here and see. Yeah, there's no question that he's down prior to crossing the line, and if it was ruled a fumble, then it would be a touchdown because Jacoby Jones recovers it in the end zone, but this is down by contact, and they'll be putting this ball on the 1 yard line.
Short of the goal line, it'll be first and goal at the half-yard line.
So one official overrules the other. No challenges needed.
Wade with
he had the flag right in the right hand.
Well, this is the boot off the stretch play that they've been so successful running with Owen Daniels incoming across the formation. Well-designed play. And a good correction there by the officials.
Owen Daniels, a big weapon who went down in week 8 last year with a torn right ACL. Still working his way back into game shape. Foster, and Foster goes backward. Keith Brookings stuck his nose right in the middle of it. A good play by the Dallas defense.
Yeah, Vontae Leach, he's leading the way, and he gets blown up, and it caused Arian Foster just to hesitate enough and not real sure then where he was going to go. Everything happened so quickly down here that not a lot of time to be dancing around once you get the ball in your hands from the half-yard line.
A rookie was in there as well, Barry Church.
Probably play action here.
Instead they run it. Foster lost another yard. Anthony Spencer the first one there, and now it's 3rd and goal.
Well, you're going to take a look here at Anthony Spencer. Got Joel Dreesen there on him, and he's able to get a push back, and penetration down here is what kills you offensively trying to run the ball, and I believe Kubiak was looking at this as 4-down territory. Field goal doesn't help him, so he's thinking, hey, we can run it 4 times and get it in, but they're going the wrong direction.
Now it's 3rd and goal. Play action now. Schaub flips it, and that'll be pass interference all day on Brooking. Never turned around defending Owen Daniels.
Brooking had a tough day last week in coverage, and he's had a tough afternoon here today as well, and he never gets turned around. Owen Daniels trying to go and make a play.
By both teams on the play. Pass interference, defense number 51. Holding number 73 offense. Those penalties offset. Replay 3rd down.
That's a big offsetting call as they get Eric Winston on a hold, because instead of a pass interference in the end zone and a 1st and goal back at the 1, you replay the down. 3rd and goal from the 3.
Well, you see him at the top of your screen, and Eric Winston, talking about bad days or tough days at the office. Eric Winston's had a tough day as well. We've called his number a few times on some penalties. I had a chance to see him on Friday at Friday practice, shook hands with him, and I got to be careful what all I say about him. He's a big man.
It's 3rd and goal. They do hand it. Now they blew the play dead. I believe Gary Kubiak called a timeout. He did just before the snap.
Timeout called by Houston prior to the snap.
It's a good thing he called timeout. That play went nowhere. Kubiak had called it. First one taken in this second half.
Sponsored by Farmers Insurance. We are insurance, we are farmers. By Coke Zero. Taste what's possible. And by DirecTV. Get the best quality picture and sound for your flat screen with DirecTV.
Gary Kubiak, like his mentor Mike Shanahan, is the master of the pre-snap timeout. He iced Gano last week in overtime, and now here calls a timeout prior to the snap on 3rd and goal out of the shotgun, and there is Brooking.
Well, it didn't look like Matt Schaub saw it coming because they free released the back. Either that or the back was responsible, but the way the back goes out in the route, Arian Foster, you're going to see Brooking come right here completely untouched, and Arian Foster got his head around like he was expecting the ball thrown immediately, but clearly a mistake there offensively in terms of the communication as to what was going to happen with Keith Brooking if he came.
And so now a 30-yard drive by Rackers. And think about the initial call on the Owen Daniels catch, as Rackers makes it 17-6. First they said touchdown. Daniels took it off the board. Texans could not punch it in, and Keith Brooking makes the play for the Cowboys. Texans had 1st and goal inside the 1-yard line. They ran it with Foster, no gain. Foster again a loss of 2. Then on 3rd and goal, a holding and a pass interference offset. 3rd and goal again, a sack, a loss of 9 yards, and the field goal to make it 17-6. After Owen Daniels was originally ruled to have scored a touchdown. Owusu Ansah with a penalty flag flying. The rookie takes it out near the 30.
Neil Racker, he got right in the middle of that, and I don't know if he'll want to do that next time. He got knocked right on his butt.
And there are 2 separate fouls as Kevin Bentley of the Texans got caught up in a fight out around the 40 with one of the Cowboys, so the officials will have to sort it out.
Here's a look at Neil Rackers. He wanted to get right in the middle of this action, and there he goes. Maybe he's just trying to go toe-to-toe with David Beeler. You know, Beeler, I guess, played a little linebacker over there at SC.
Right.
You know, David Akers over there at Philadelphia, he's known to bow up a few guys, and these guys these guys aren't the guys that I played with. I know back not all that long ago. They're starting to get tough.
Fouls on the play. Unnecessary, after the play was over, unnecessary roughness on number 52. Excuse me a minute.
Okay.
Mike, this is like a want to get away commercial.
Yeah. This is like a wing commercial. Huh?
Hold on a second. I'll be right back. He's not laughing.
Who says these officials take themselves too seriously?
At least he smiled.
He did. He did.
There are multiple fouls on the play. Unnecessary roughness on the kicking team, number 52. Unnecessary roughness on the receiving team, number 57. Those fouls offset. There's also a holding, number 92, on the return team. All those fouls offset at the spot of that foul. First down, Dallas.
Oh my gosh. I don't know where the ball is.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Verizon, the official wireless service provider of the NFL.
During that entire break, Tony Romo and Jason Garrett kept asking, where's the ball? They just did set it down at the 26. Delayed handoff to Marion Barber. Hit the hole hard, and he is to the 32, a gain of 7. I'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world watching today's broadcast in 175 countries on AFN, the American Forces Network, and we thank you for all you do. I hope you're enjoying today's telecast as we come to you from Houston, Texas. And now Kyle Kozar, who missed week 1 after having a little knee procedure. May have gotten his ankle rolled in the middle of that pileup. And there it is, his right ankle, with Marion Barber bringing the tackler to him.
Well, when he was out 2 years ago, missed a lot of time. I mean, that was always a position of great concern because they missed him not being on the field, and getting him back this year, coming back last week, has been big. You know, it's amazing that doesn't happen on more plays. I mean, we see a lot of it, but you'd think it'd happen on every play. You know, those guys and just a lot of bodies getting rolled up. Easy to see it happen.
2nd down and 3. Dallas up 11. Little trouble with the exchange, and Marion Barber goes nowhere. Back to the line of scrimmage. That's it. Xavier Adibi was the first one there, and he had help with D'Amico Ryans.
Look, Xavier Adibi, he does a good job of again playing downhill, taking on the lead block there by Gronkowski, and that was a big stop there. They lost yardage, Dallas did, because you knew that Dallas was going to continue to run the ball here in this 4th quarter with this type of lead until Houston showed that they were going to be able to slow it down.
Now it's 3rd and 4. Leonard Davis may have flinched. Did the officiating crew see it?
Well, it didn't look like they did if he flinched at all.
Offside, number 94 defense, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. The yardage results in a 1st down.
I think you'll see that Leonard Davis, number 70, flinched. That's why they came across. Right there.
Yep.
And the officiating crew.
Well, Houston in a lot of ways has looked like Dallas the previous 2 games. I mean, they've had a number of penalties. Of course, the touchdown that came back because of Eric Winston, but there've been a lot of penalties on Houston in this game that have hurt them a lot.
Romo fires it. Pass is dropped by Miles Austin. Incomplete with 10:02 left.
We've seen that now 2 weeks in a row from Miles Austin. He just is not one of those guys. He's one of the most sure-handed guys, not only on this team, but in all of football. And he had a drop last week and then had another one right here.
2nd down and 10.
He's going to have to catch some more balls if he's going to maintain his pace for 160 on the season.
10 in each of the first 2 games. Pass is complete. Defender fell down. Roy Williams on the loose. Into the end zone. Touchdown Dallas. No flags.
You know, we've seen it each week with Kareem Jackson, the rookie. That's who they're going to target, and then he just falls down. And pretty good route again by Roy Williams, but when you're locked in man coverage and you go to the ground, there's no blanket in the back to come help you out. Safety's trying to get over the top and help, but you know, you're on an island out there on the outside in man coverage, and it was over as soon as Roy Williams got it in his hands.
What's gotten into Roy Williams? His 2nd touchdown catch of the day. This one good for 63 yards. And he hands off another souvenir. Wade's all fired up. So's Tony Romo. 24-6 Dallas. Roy Williams has 5 catches, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. Only his second 100-yard game over his last 35 for a guy who was a Pro Bowler back in 2006 with Detroit. Second full year in Dallas. He has been a big part of it today. And now Slayton on the return. Beeler slows him down. And the return is across the 35-yard line. A 32-yard run by Steve Slayton back to the touchdown.
Yeah, go back to the route. Again, an outside release and then back inside, and that's what threw Kareem Jackson off. And then when he stumbled, it was a touchdown. And, you know, that was a quick pass. You're going to see Kareem Jackson, you know, not real happy with himself on that. But that was a quick pass, and we've seen a few of those. The other touchdown to Roy Williams was a quicker throw. But Tony Romo has had no pressure on him all day. And that defensive front has got to do a better job. Tony Romo has completed 75% of his passes. I mean, this is like practice out here for them.
And now Schaub gets rid of it to Owen Daniels as tight end. And Schaub is in the situation where the Dallas defense knows he's going to be dropping back to throw, and that's when Dallas usually is good at pinning their ears back and coming to get the quarterback.
No doubt. And I think you come into this game and you say, okay, Houston, even though they haven't done a lot today offensively, you know, are they good enough on defense to do what they want to do? And for the third week, I think you'd probably say no.
Inside handoff to Foster. And Arian Foster lost the football. And this Dallas defense has its second takeaway of the afternoon. They came in with none. Terrence Newman comes away with the second of the day.
First down, Dallas.
I know Arian Foster was trying to indicate that he was down already, but the ball clearly out before his right knee went to the ground. And you know, these running backs are a lot like wide receivers who say they're always open regardless of how covered they might be. Every time the ball comes out, they just assume that it was down by contact, but that wasn't the case there.
It was Spencer who knocked it out. Terrence Newman who picked it up. And from the end of the first quarter on, Dallas has pretty much dominated this game as Marion Barber carries it straight ahead for 5. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Falcons and the Saints in a good one at the Superdome. Atlanta takes the lead here in the fourth quarter. Roddy White with a 22-yard reception from Matt Ryan. Atlanta now leads at 24-21. A game that's been back and forth all day long, Joe and Troy.
So a good game there, and here it's 24-6. Kozar still out as they've got his right knee bandaged.
Yeah, Montre Holland comes in for him at left guard, and Montre, of course, played in Week 1's loss to the Redskins, and I thought he did a nice job.
Here's Barber again, bouncing it, and Marion Barber's got a first down for Dallas. You know, the Cowboys have gone with this running back by committee for a while now, with Barber trying to mix Felix Jones in. I know he's a change of pace back for Marion Barber, but when Barber is able to get on a roll, you wonder why the Cowboys just don't feed him the ball a little more often and give him a chance to settle in.
I think they certainly will here in the fourth quarter in this situation. And like I said on that previous possession, they're going to keep feeding them the ball and running it until Houston makes a stop. And we'll look back at this game and talk about how well Dallas ran the ball, but a lot of those yards likely are going to come here in the last 7 minutes of the game.
Now Barber the right side spins away from one tackle. Got away from Ryans, a gain of 4. It's the season premiere of The Simpsons. You won't believe who's coming to Springfield. It's the stars of Glee. Get ready for some singing and dancing on the most gleeful Simpsons season premiere ever. Catch it tonight. And the only place for all new episodes, Fox. There it is since the first quarter. 313 yards of the 374 total put up by Dallas. Barber again. You want action, Marion Barber? You're getting it. And a gain of 1.
You know, this game overall, Joe, I know coming in we were talking about, you know, what an aerial assault this potentially could be, and that's really kind of what I expected. You know, I thought if Matt Schaub was given football. He was under some pressure, but that they would really be able to take advantage of some things with the weapons that they have, and that just didn't materialize. And even though Romo has thrown the ball extremely well, they've been able to run the ball really better than what I anticipated them coming in against this defensive unit of Houston's.
It's 3rd down and 5. Now Choice. And Tashard is wrapped up at the 30, 2 yards shy of a 1st down. Is it fair to say that the Cowboys kept, now somebody's hurt, down at the bottom of that pile? Is that Holland or Gerard?
Looks like that was Gerard getting up a little slow.
Got up slow. No help needed. I think the Dallas Cowboys kept him honest with the run, but still made the big plays through the air, whether it's to Roy Williams or Witten or whomever.
No, that's the same game I saw, Joe, that they were able to get the running game going early and do some things that at least kept them off balance. And as Jimmy Johnson talked about there at halftime, allow them to control the clock and let their defense rest, which I think helped their defense. But the big plays came in the passing game, and that's why then they were able to score the points. Of course, the long pass there on the last touchdown to Roy Williams, but a lot of big plays there by Tony Romo and that receiving corps.
Cowboys were showing that they would go for it here on 4th and 2, and let's step back and look at where we were coming into this game. You had the Texans going for their first ever 3-0 start, taking on a Dallas team that was 0-2. So many questions. People wondering about the future of Wade Phillips, the offensive coordinator Jason Garrett. I think all in all, they're going to come out of this game extremely happy with the way they came in and played.
Well, this was a game, you hate to say must win because, we're not even out of September yet. But if you're 0-3, the likelihood of going on and making the playoffs isn't very good. So this was about as important a game as you're going to have, this early in the year. And, the reason a lot of 0-3 teams don't make the playoffs, or a lot of 0-2 teams don't make the playoffs, is because, quite simply, those teams just aren't very good. Well, that's not the case with Dallas. Dallas is a good football team with a lot of talent, and you knew that at some point they were going to get it going. And in a lot of ways, this was another kind of litmus test for the Houston Texans.
Here's a completion to Des Bryant, able to hang on to the ball after a vicious tackle and a swipe at it by Bernard Pollard. And another completion, this time of 5 yards on 4th and 2.
The one thing is that, looking at Houston defense, secondary is going to have to grow up in a hurry, and they're dependent on a lot of young guys. And before that happens, they've got to be able to get some help then from their front seven in getting pressure on the quarterback. And, Mario Williams, as good as he was last week on Don, this was not a factor in this game.
Here's Barber. If you go back to the first game in franchise history for the Houston Texans, their first victory, September 8th, 2002, and it was David Carr in one of his highlights as he started out well, and now he is a backup. A 19-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys as they christened this stadium for the Texans. Then if you roll the clock forward, it's kind of ironic that Tony Romo had his first NFL action against Houston in a 34-6 Dallas win in Dallas in relief of Drew Bledsoe. And it's been Tony Romo's job from the halftime of the following game on. Meanwhile, David Carr is long gone. They have a good thing with Matt Schaub, who I know impressed you, not only with his play, but just sitting down talking to him as a leader with this team. But Troy defense has given up at least 24 points now in each of the first 3 games. It's tough to win games like that.
Yeah, that's why I go back to the question of everybody has been and still should be. I mean, hey, this is a team that a lot is expected from after the way they finished last year, winning 4 in a row. And then they open up the season at home and a big win against Indianapolis, a dramatic win last week in overtime against the Redskins, who apparently are better than what a lot of people thought coming in. But this was another one of those games. But is this defense good enough? And for 3 weeks in a row now, I would say no. They tell me they're not good enough to do the things that this team wants to do, at least as we talk right here. Now they can get better, but they're going to have to get better. They can't rely when an offense comes out and struggles a little bit like Houston did today. you've got to have the defense at least be able to keep you in the game.
It's 3rd down and 5. Houston's now out of timeouts with 4:27 left in the game. Texans came in with a 6-game winning streak alive dating back to last season. It's 3rd down for Dallas. Barber goes nowhere. The ball comes out, and Romo gets on top of it back at the 26. Loss of 1. Pollard was the first one there for Houston.
Well, Pollard, you see, I mean, he's just going right for the ball. It's the only chance the Texans have right now of getting back into this, and pretty heady play there by Tony Romo, alertly staying with the play and then falling on the ball.
So the clock will continue to wind, and Chris Peasy in a very important moment in the career of Troy Aikman. Take a look.
Your rookie year, you were 0-11 as a starter, and you threw 18 interceptions.
Yeah.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to remind you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
That's on Cubed this Thursday. Lunch with benefits, part of what you can find on your desktop at foxsports.com on MSN.
That was just a little sampler of things to
That's
come.
not the whole thing?
No, that's just a piece of it. That's just like the appetizer right there.
Really?
You got to tune in for the entree. It gets better.
It does?
Hey, I don't know how, but it does. I mean, that's as you'd think that that's as good as it gets, but it actually gets a lot better.
Well, there you go. You've been on the Tonight Show. You've been on Letterman. You've done it all.
And now I've been on with Peasy.
Slice
right?
and Peasy.
Have you been on?
I have. We didn't
sound. So you're upset?
You. No, I'm not upset.
A little bit.
Just stating
upset.
facts. Here's a 40-yard try by David Beeler to make it 27-6. See, shows off his big leg. That is, he's got plenty of distance. It's been the direction that's the problem the first 2 weeks, not today. He's hit from 49 and now 40. And that makes it a 21-point game.
Well, I think there's a lot of things to feel good about for the Dallas Cowboys coming out of this game, but David Beeler having the day that he had today is probably right near the top of that list. You know, these games today, as close as they are, and oftentimes coming down, as the Cowboys can attest to, the first 2 weeks, come down to that, and now Colombo decides to come up and give him a little chest bump. But Beeler can handle that. I talked about that a little bit earlier. This guy's not your typical kicker. Playing linebacker, whatever he did, played linebacker some over in college, and I think he's volunteered. He ran down kickoffs in the past when he wasn't the kickoff guy.
He wanted to be on the punt team.
You know, yeah. Good for him.
Yeah, why not? Well, last year he was kind of an extra piece and somebody who led the league in touchbacks. He doesn't have a touchback yet. He does have 4 tackles on kickoffs. And now today 2 for 2. He's hit from 49 and now 40.
If he doesn't get a touchback here, keep an eye on him. He might have 5 tackles.
Well, let's see. Slayton will return it eventually after dribbling it for a while, and Slayton is ripped to the ground by Victor Butler. How about an 0-2 start? That's where the Cowboys were coming in. The 93 Cowboys lost their first 2 games of the season. Emmitt Smith was holding out, came back, and won their next 7 games and ended up 12-4 on the season, and then beat the Bills in Super Bowl 28. Those were the days. Look at that face. A young Troy Aikman had the world by the tail.
Well, and we've seen other teams come back from those types of deficits since then and go on and win championships also.
This one is incomplete for Owen Daniels. Now you're a broadcaster.
Yeah.
Huh? How great is that?
Oh, it's highlight. It's the best. Best thing that's ever happened to me, Joe.
Really?
Not only being a broadcaster, but then being broadcast beside you. You know,
3 Super Bowls led to this moment for you, and
I knew there'd be something in the fact of having won a few championships, that something good would come out of that. And
well, yeah.
Now I know. Huh?
Wonder which ring I'll wear this week. Here's Walter making a catch, or actually, no, that's David Anderson. And David Anderson will bet you pennies to peanuts that he's ready to get in there and make something happen for this Houston offense. Now to the near side for Jacoby Jones, and a gain of 5. David Anderson kind of kidding around. He's a special teams guy for Houston, and somebody who likes to have a lot of fun. Now getting a chance. They're not going to run Andre Johnson back out there and test that ankle anymore as they trail by 21. Here's Foster, and that's Brady James making the play. Arian Foster good for 4 yards.
Well, I think Houston definitely has some really good things in place offensively, and a lot of these guys obviously returning from last year's unit. And we talked about Arian Foster throughout this game, and what he has meant to this unit running the football. And for a group that struggled so much last year doing that and had so much success week 1, I think the jury was still kind of out. But this looks like it's going to be a unit that can run the ball fairly well all year.
Passes out of the reach of Walter. The Houston Texans with a penalty flag down on the field back at the 40.
Offside, number 94 defense lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
That's DeMarcus Ware, who has been credited, by the way, with 3 sacks in this game, looking for number 4. The Houston Texans next are at Oakland, and at home against the Giants, at home against Kansas City, and their bye week. The Cowboys have their bye week coming up next, and then host Tennessee. Here's Slayton, and Slayton with plenty of room to run to the 40.
You talk about DeMarcus Ware having 3 sacks in this game, and as we said, this was a big game for the Cowboys. And when you get in these types of games, your best players have to play well. And DeMarcus Ware had been getting pressure on the quarterback, but he hadn't had the big plays or the sacks like we expect from him. And well, he showed up today.
Here's a pass caught by the tight end Joel Dreesen. Bounces off a couple of would-be tacklers, good for 18 yards, and we're at the 2-minute warning here in Houston. Texans are staring at their first loss here in 2010. The bye week is next for the Dallas Cowboys. Then there are the next 4 games, including a date at Minnesota, a date hosting the Giants, and then they host Jacksonville. Here's Walter, far sideline, and Jenkins makes the tackle, keeps Walter in bounds, a gain of 5. Time permitting, we will give you bonus coverage of the Falcons and the Saints. Good game in New Orleans. 2nd and 5. Pass caught by Jacoby Jones, and he takes a seat around the 8. Meanwhile, with a win here today, Wade Phillips, who's in his 4th year as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, will tie his father, Bum Phillips, the beloved head coach with the Houston Oilers, with his 82nd career win. Here's Walter for the touchdown with 1:15 to go. 7 yards and a score from Matt Shaw.
The Texans coming in with this last possession here had under 300 yards of total offense. You get in these situations defensively, you're playing things a little bit differently. Offenses obviously are still throwing the ball and trying to move it and score points, and so the numbers get a little bit skewed. But this has been a Dallas defense that, going back to really week 3 last year, has been hard to move the football against. Not many people create many yards against this unit.
So Wade Phillips, if the Cowboys hang on, and they lead by 14 with 1:15 left, he will tie his father, his 82nd career head coaching win in the NFL. And who can forget that legendary shadow? He is still beloved in these parts. 55-35 record with the Oilers. There's a young Wade Phillips who was with him coordinating the defense with the New Orleans Saints, which is where Bum ended his coaching career in 1985. Led the Oilers to 2 AFC championship games, lost to the Steelers in both. And for Wade Phillips, this was one that the Cowboys needed. Meanwhile, Bum is 86 years old, lives in Texas. Is saying, I can't lose. There's Wes Phillips, who's an offensive assistant for the Dallas Cowboys. Bum said, I can't lose. It's my son taking on my favorite city.
Yeah, he loves the city of Houston, no question.
And the onside kick went off Bennett and may have been recovered by Houston. If it is, it adds a little bit of intrigue, but remember, Houston's out of timeouts and the Texans have it. And there is David Anderson coming away with a football.
Well, Martellus Bennett had an easy opportunity. I mean, that's the bounce that you hope that you get. It's high in the air. You get a chance to come into it and cradle it and make the catch and then protect yourself. He just failed to make the catch.
So the Texans get the onside kick, but they have to get down the field 2 times with no timeouts and get it into the end zone with 1:13 now remaining. So a little bit of drama left in this game.
And you talk about Bum Phillips. Boy, those were some great years here in Houston. The Love You Blue and Bum Phillips roaming the sidelines with the cowboy hat.
Here is a pass nearly picked off by Brooking. Intended for Owen Daniels. It could have been the 3rd takeaway by this Dallas defense, having picked up none in the first 2 games.
And the one turnover I think that that Dallas got when they got the interception by Michael Jenkins, Dallas had to start that drive excuse me, on the 10-yard line, had to go 90 yards, and they did it, and I thought that was the drive there that really broke the back of the Texans.
Now on 2nd and 10, Schaub over the middle, pass caught by Walter, but now the Texans have to hurry up, get to line. Under a minute to play. 22 yards to Kevin Walter. Schaub floats it, and this one is tipped and intercepted by Danny McCray. And that is takeaway number 3 for this Dallas defense as the rookie gets his first NFL pick. Gary Kubiak is on the field to complain about the call. Let's take another look. The left hand of Slayton off the right hand of James, and then you can see why
the ball was intercepted. First down, Dallas.
You can see why Kubiak. As Danny McCray, did he have it clean going to the ground?
Boy, that was close. He had that one. He cradled the top half of the ball, and the ball comes down and definitely hits the ground. But did he in fact have possession?
And now the Cowboys snap it. So any thoughts about reviewing that are gone. And the game clock and the play clock are just a little bit off. There's a little more time left on the game clock, so they'll have to snap it again. Here are the closing points for Houston. The offense sputters, no doubt. And the Cowboys, Troy, they have to look at it defensively, offensively, even special teams with Beeler going 2 for 2 is a pretty thorough win here in Houston.
Well, it's one they haven't had yet this year, and really going back to the preseason, they haven't felt good about a performance yet until today. So this was a good game, a big game for them, a nice win. They get a chance to lick some wounds and come back after that against a pretty tough part of their schedule.
Good day.